anything when it comes to a textbook, right? Or an online homework system or any of that kind of stuff. So we'll do text, attendance, homework. We did sort of those other things yesterday. And this part is probably going to take like an hour, something like that. Depends kind of on how distracted I get and how many questions you have, right? So text is required in this course in the sense that I require you to buy into Wiley Plus, which is the online homework system. When I can't show you, they took away my ability to show you the screen of how you register all this kind of stuff. What you need to do is you need to go to Canvas, to this course, and then click on like a homework assignment or a textbook link of some kind. As soon as you do that, it will automatically send you to the system where you need to be. Do not go to wileyplus.com. That will not work. Okay, you'll try to look for the class and it won't show up, or if it does, it won't link incorrectly. All of your login information is handled through Canvas. The very first time you use it, you will be asked to make an account with Wiley Plus, but that's more like if you need customer service or something, right? So just try to remember your login and password for Wiley Plus. But once you put that in, every other time after that, it will be totally automagical, right? You won't even notice that a login is taking place. So make sure that you access the book resources, and I'll show you how to do that, through Canvas. It will then pop up a screen where it's going to extort money from you, right? You've got to pay for everything. There's going to be lots of choices there. The base level, cheapest version is all you need. Every other price on that screen is just whether or not you want like a PDF that goes with you if you need to study like for the MCAT later. Or like there's an option for sending you a physical version of the textbook along with it. But the base version gets you everything. It gets you the textbook in ebook form. It gets you the student solutions manual. It gets you access to Wiley Plus. You will not be missing out on anything if you get the cheapest version. Across the top, there's a couple of tabs. One of them says 1 semester access, and the other one says 2 semester or year access, or it's like 6 months and 12 months or something like that. My advice for you is to do the 6-month cheapest version. Come on in, have a seat. So the reason I say that is, theoretically, if you're taking Physics 2B, like next semester, right? The license would carry over, Canvas will handle everything, it's fine, right? But the problem is there's going to be a summer in between right now and then. Yes, it's a little bit more in the long run if you have to pay twice. It's a little bit cheaper to do it all together. But we are, the faculty, we're trying to think of maybe we can start doing free textbooks and that kind of stuff. So I think, we don't know if any of that's going to happen, but like, I'm just being open and honest with you. I think right now for you guys in Physics 2A, just buy the shortest term, 1 semester, cheapest access, right? You might end up having to purchase another access for 2B. And especially if you don't have to take 2B, you definitely want to choose that one, right? Don't pick the year-long one. If you have any questions about that when you get to that screen, and again, I wish I could demonstrate it for you, please let me know. This week is the time where we need to sort out any technical issues you might be having in accessing any of this information, right? GRASP is going to be a wonderful day for you to come, this Friday, right? To come in, Mr. Balogh, I can't get my phone to do it. I can't get my computer to do it. It's not working. I don't understand how it works, blah, 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 right? We can get that all sorted out this Friday. I really don't want any questions next week. Oh, Mr. Balogh, I haven't gotten into Wiley Plus yet. Well, you're already 1 homework assignment, right? Down, like it's now. So make sure you're getting in there. There is, and it's at the bottom of the page. You got to scroll down when you see the money, right? At the bottom of the page, there is a button that says a 14-day grace period. For 14 days, you will get everything absolutely for free. It's full access. It'll accept your homework scores into Canvas, all that stuff, right? So you can get that 14 days free right off the bat. There should be no excuse. You know, some people tell me, well, I can't pay for it this week, Mr. Balogh. Hit the grace period button, right? So you can get access to the system. And maybe next week you decide you don't like my sense of humor or how my nose looks or something, you want to drop the class, then you don't have to deal with customer service at Wiley Plus or something like that, right? So I just tell everybody, just hit the grace period button, right? And then, 14 days from now, it'll lock you out until you give them your firstborn or whatever it says in the end user license agreement, right? I do refer to the textbook, not necessarily by page number, but like sections that we're going over. I do my very best to use the symbols that the textbook is using. Something interesting is happening in people's minds nowadays with AI and everything else. I'll watch people get up ChatGPT, throw the homework problem in it, get all of this stuff, right? And then something's wrong, right? It's not working in Wiley Plus. And then they have to spend the next 4 years figuring out what the mistake was in ChatGPT or cross-referencing something or watching some Khan Academy video, all that kind of stuff, right? There is a source of information that has been vetted and is entirely consistent in its symbols and its writing. What's that source? It's the textbook, right? Like you've been taught probably through high school that you got to check your resources and do some critical thinking and do some analysis about whether or not something is true or not. Well, guess what? Okay, the textbook has been vetted by experts. It's been vetted by me. I've looked at it. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's got its moments. But I don't understand why people spend so much time gathering all these other resources when you've got a source. Right? And I know textbooks are so old-fashioned, and yeah, Mr. Balogh, you're just so old. Back in the dinosaur era, you guys chiseled your textbooks out of rock or whatever, right? It really is just the source of information. And we'll show you some tricks about how to use it really quick and all that kind of stuff. So that's my pitch for it. You do have to do it just so you can turn in your homework and get the help you need there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. I do want to deal with the attendance. We're 10 minutes in. That's enough to sort out parking and fog and anything else. And hopefully people are emailing me if they can't get here. But now let's talk official role, all that kind of. Doing my best to get everybody in. Where we are. What are we doing? Take roll. I did that part. Okay. This was mentioned several times yesterday. I just want to reiterate, right? GRASP on Fridays in NS 138, which is the last classroom in this hallway, okay? So make sure that you try to plan that out. I know people work and all that kind of stuff. If you can't do GRASP, the same tutors that are in GRASP are also in the tutorial center during the week at various scheduled times. The tutorial center website has all of that information, okay? So free tutoring. They're familiar with our programs and the homework problems and all that kind of stuff, and they can help you. And you're gonna want that help. Excuse me. What's your name? Thank you. And that was everybody. Good. Okay. So try to plan GRASP in if you can. GRASP is always advertised as 8 to 1 in that room. I am there at 7 because my office hours run from 7 to 10:50, right? So it's open for you guys. GRASP opens at 7 a.m. Okay, Canvas. At the risk of sounding old, what I'm about to do is I'm going to show you some stuff in Canvas. What this is not going to be is an old person telling young people how to use the internet, because you already know how to do that, right? I want to show you some Mr. Balogh-isms, things like I've done some really bad things to Canvas, right? And I need to walk you through just sort of like, how is Mr. Balogh thinking? How has he organized this? It can be a little bit weird. So let me do that. Let's do that. Give me a second. Seems like as technology goes on, it gets harder and harder to switch things around. More buttons for switching things. Okay. So most of this stuff gets ignored by students because you guys just go into Canvas and see the thing that's due next, right? And you click it. right there on the right-hand side. So, but let me just sort of orient you here. I hope some of these buttons are self-explanatory, right? Like if you click office hours, you know what you're going to get, okay? Information, syllabus, you know what you're going to get, all that kind of stuff. We don't print out syllabus anymore. You can ignore it online as well as you can in paper. But like you're responsible for knowing the contents of the syllabus, right? So make sure that you get in there and read that. I do want to show you the calendar. Okay, this is, okay, so the way my brain works, whenever I'm doing a project that's going to take any length of time, I need to see the whole thing on one piece of paper, one screen. Like I've got to see like a kind of a big picture kind of thing. I might have other pieces of paper, other parts of my digital notebook that have other information about what's going on. But I do need to see like a big overall, big picture version of what it is. And so that's what this course calendar is. It's the big picture. This is where I start. This is more of an internal document that I make for myself that I just happen to share with you. So let me explain just a little bit, okay? What I've done is I've only listed the days that we are together, right? So this isn't a full calendar that shows every day of the week. It just shows the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays that we are together, right? So for example, what are we doing tomorrow on the 15th? Yeah, it says chapter 2 there, doesn't it? Okay. We're doing lab intro and lab 1 today. What lab are we doing next week? Lab 3, because we can't count in physics, right? So when's your first exam? The 29th. That's like, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? So it comes up fast, right? So that's what this kind of is. If you ask me, hey, Mr. Balogh, I can't make it today, what are we doing? I'm going to be like, well, go to the course calendar, because that's what I'm following, okay? For the last, well, before the pandemic, I've hit the exam dates exactly. Really the only reason that an exam date would get moved is like if I end up in the hospital or something, right? So you can basically plan the next 3 months around these exam dates, right? You're going to have an exam on the 29th. You're going to have one on the 26th of February. You're going to have one on March 19th, right? Like, tell your employers, tell your sports teams, whatever, right? Okay. And if there's conflicts, we need to start working those out right now so that we have a plan in place, that kind of thing, right? So generally, when is homework due? It's usually Saturday, because we're usually covering a chapter doing Tuesday and Thursday or like that week, and then you get till Saturday to turn it in. The only exception to that is when we are up against an exam week. I want you turning in the homework for that exam the night before we're taking the exam. So you have to read ahead on this, read between the lines a little bit, and realize that, okay, so chapter 1 homework, well, the first half of chapter 1 is due this Saturday. And then next Saturday, it's all of chapter 2 and like the second half of chapter 1. Got to break it up because of the book. But then, so that's like, okay, well, I have like 2 days to do this one. I've got a whole 7 days to do this one. But then realize, right, chapter 3, you've only got like 4 days to do it, right? Chapter 3 is the biggest chapter of this first unit. Like it kind of has the most content in it. So really what you need to do, notice how like chapter 2 is divided between tomorrow and next Tuesday. You really kind of want to be getting most of chapter 2 done before it's due, so you have time to get into chapter 3, okay? I'm starting chapter 3 next Thursday, right? And so that would be like an ideal time to really have chapter 2 kind of done, right? That's of course the ideal. You're going to be struggling. I'm not sure what the problems are asking, blah, 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 blah. And so you'll need help from the tutorial center and all that kind of stuff. Notice that on grasp, like this grasp, we can help you on chapter 1. Next grasp, we can help you on chapter 2, but I just said it's nice for it to be done, right? And then there's no grasp. So like this Friday that's sitting right here, I know it's a Saturday, but that Friday is like a great time for chapter 2 and 3 together, right? for your questions, all that kind of stuff. So it's rough. It's a fast pace. You can see our first unit is 3 weeks. Our second unit is 4. Why is it 4 weeks instead of 3? What did I say about second unit yesterday? It's hard. Yeah, right? So we expended the time just a little bit. Then we only give you 3 because, well, spring break's coming up. And the rest are basically 3.5 weeks long. So just kind of use this document as a pacing document, as a reference. You can print it out. It's a PDF. You can download it. You can put it on your bathroom mirror, whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. You can ignore it too. That's certainly your prerogative. Let's see. So that was the calendar. The other button, like you'll tend to use the most often, is this course content button, which is exactly the same as the modules button on the left. Okay. So my first module's got a lot of links in it and information. It's got highlights from the syllabus and things like that. If you're going to do the TLDR version of the syllabus, it's right there. Okay, make sure that you read those things. What are some other things that are in here? The calendar, this is the same calendar as the link I showed you before. I have a YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. No, I don't care. Okay. This YouTube channel is where I dump We talking? Come on, where's the thing? Right here. Oh, people are talking. So when I tell you that in this lecture, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to be engaged. Do I really sound that dumb? Nobody ever sounds the same on a recording as you do in your head, right? So what is this? It's a recording, okay, of what we did yesterday, right? So let's talk about what's missing. What is not on the screen? You don't need this particularly, okay? However, you may not have noticed, but I used the glass board in the front of class a little bit. There's pointing, there's screaming, there's jumping, right? There's all kinds of stuff going on. None of that is here. So who is this for? Specifically, who is this for? Not just you. The people who were there. Right? This is a recording for people who were there to go back and review something, right, that didn't make sense maybe the first time through, or you felt like I was going too fast. When I started as a teacher, my students constantly on my evaluations complained. They kept saying, Mr. Balogh needs a pause button. I remember one student wrote that down. Okay. Well, guess what? It's right there. Right? Okay, spacebar. Right? Okay, I have a pause button now. So a lot of the times you might throw your hand up in the air and say, oh, Mr. Balogh, I didn't write down the thing on the slide. Can you go back? And my answer is going to be no. Right? Because, okay, it's on the YouTubes, right? It's going to be there. Like I uploaded this, I think it got up by 11:40 was when it was done processing. And then, the HD took a little bit longer. But like they go up same day, right? And they're designed, they are a raw cut, like literally record at the start, stop at the end. And I don't go back and edit. Okay, so whatever happened, happened, right? So you can use it or not. It's totally up to you. It's just I'm using an iPad anyway, so I might as well be recording what I'm doing on it, right? It records everything that happens on the iPad. Sometimes I switch to something else, like this recording is not going to have any of the Canvas stuff on it because I had to switch inputs, right? So it records what happens on the iPad. The other thing that I do is I give a link to the lecture PDFs. Okay, there's nothing in this folder right now because I haven't written anything down yet. But what I do is I upload after the lecture So at the same time the YouTube's gone up, I upload every slide that I wrote on with my iPad. Ooh, did I do that yesterday? I didn't do that yesterday. See, it's a new semester for me too. Didn't I write on my iPad screen yesterday? I did, didn't I? Right? So somewhere in here, we get towards the end. Yeah, there we go. There I was writing on the screen, okay? So because this slide got written on by me, I'll export it to a PDF, and then you'll have a PDF of everything that I wrote down on the screen. Okay? So why would I do this? This takes a lot of work, by the way, all this technological mumbo-jumbo, setting it up and all that kind of stuff. To help what? Yeah, I mean, ideally, but why? Yeah, how is it going to help you? So I think the kind of dumb answer is, well, I can review it. Okay, great, you can review it, right? But if you didn't understand it the first time, sometimes the second time doesn't help either, right? Like it's physics. What if I told you that I don't want you taking notes in my class? You guys are like, yes. I'm going to ask something much harder. I want you to be present in my class. Because what happens, and I know this is the way you've been trained. If you've been through the American high school system, you've been trained in this skill. In high school, you probably came in, and the teacher put a PowerPoint up, and what did you do? You wrote everything that was down on the PowerPoint slide. Well, I have news for you. We've solved the transmission of information problem. It's called the internet, right? We don't need you copying down what's on the screen, okay? What do I need you, future doctors and physical therapists and architects and all that kind of stuff? What do I need you doing? Thinking, right? Applying, knowing how to use this information. And so I will do everything that I can to make sure that you're just not kind of drool comes out of the mouth as you just copy stuff down, right? Copying down the information, capturing what was said, that's called stenography. These are the people in courtrooms that record every word that's said, right? Okay. If you want to do that, go to stenography school, okay? You're here to learn how the universe works and to be able to problem solve so that you can problem solve in other classes and in your profession, all that kind of stuff. And so what I need you is present in lecture so that when I say, okay, turn to each other and do something, you've been sitting there going, okay, I've been following along, now I can do it, right? Instead of just copying along with your brain kind of shut off. Because it's really hard to be copying down what's on the screen and be thinking about what that is, right? Usually the step is copy it down, then go back and read it and try to figure out what's going on, right? We need to be going faster than that. So I want to kind of offload the responsibility of writing down everything I say, because you're going to get a YouTube, you're going to get a PDF that's got everything there, right? Minus what was there. So if I was making these videos so that you didn't have to come to lecture, they would be very different, right? They'd probably be a recording of me bouncing around in front of the room, and they would be cut differently, and they would be shorter because attention spans on YouTube are shorter and all that kind of stuff, right? This is for the person who was present, who tried it, and now wants to do sort of a post-mortem on, okay, how do I connect all of these ideas? People who have tried to use these to be able to skip class on a regular basis inevitably drop after the first exam. They're just not designed for people who weren't there. Now, is it better than nothing if you wake up sick or you get called into work or whatever, right? Yes, it's better than nothing, right? But you be sure to have a friend in class that can explain to you why I was frothing at the mouth and screaming at some point, because you can't see what's going on, right? You won't be able to see any of the demonstrations that I do and any of that kind of stuff. And more importantly, you won't have an opportunity to interact with somebody in real time while we're in the moment together. So that's why this exists, right? And I do caution you about just, well, it's on YouTube, I can sleep in. Don't fall into that trap. It just doesn't work. And I have a trail of failed students to prove it. All right, let's see. So that's the YouTube. Okay, 2 funny stories. Just to get your mind off of class for just a second. I had a group of students that was sitting in Grasp one day. This is about 10 years ago. And they were all sitting together, and they were all on their laptops and phones, and they were all had their earbuds in, and they weren't talking to each other, okay? But they were all together in Grasp. They got to Grasp, first step done, right? And so I'm sitting going, what's going on over here? So I walked up and I tried to practice my social skills by asking them how they were doing and what are you doing and all that kind of stuff. The thing was, is as I sat and watched them, every once in a while somebody would hold up, they were doing homework, they would hold up their thing to somebody across the table and that person would, right? But there was no like talking going on, right? I was like, what is, so I come over and I was like, what's going on? What are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, we're doing homework. I was like, but I couldn't help but notice that you guys aren't talking to each other, right? They're like, yeah. And I was like, can I see your screen? So one of them turned their laptop. And it was one of the YouTube recordings, right? But the thing was, is it wasn't the YouTube recording for the homework that they were working on. And I looked at kind of the others. All of them just had a different YouTube going, right? It was all class, but it wasn't the topic. One of them had the topic, but the rest of them didn't. I was like, what is going on here? And they took the earbuds out and they said, look, Mr. Balogh, we've discovered that we can do our homework faster if we can hear your voice. I was weirded out. I said something nice and I walked away, right? But if that worked for them, it worked for them, right? There's this phenomenon where you're sitting in class going, oh yeah, I got this. And then you go home to do the homework and what happens? You don't got this, right? Okay. What these students had discovered is if they just kind of turn the YouTube on, it's almost like their brain kind of goes back to, oh, I was in class when I got this, and it starts making connections faster, right? So whatever way this helps you, great. If it doesn't help you, ignore it. Second story. I had a student come up to me second or third week of class, didn't know her very well. She's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Balogh, I have to give you a hug. And then she enveloped me in like the biggest bear hug I think I've ever had from a student, right? Right? And I was like, what was that for? And she's like, you have made it possible for me to get my daughter to go to sleep. I was like, what? She's like, my daughter never, 3-year-old kid, never wants to go to sleep. Fights going to bed like crazy. I'm a single mom. I come home, I'm making dinner. While I'm making dinner, I'm taking care of my daughter, and I just turn on the lecture to start reviewing, right? To kind of catch up on things that I blanked out on or whatever, right? My daughter is enthralled with you. She calls you the funny physics man. She loves listening to you. She's quiet while she listens to you. I was like, is she learning anything? No, she just thinks you're funny. Like, well, at least there's one person in the world. I said, what does this have to do with going to bed? She's like, I told her she had to go to bed, and my daughter said, 3 years old, right? I'll go to bed if I can hear the funny physics man one more time. So all I have to do is play you for 10 minutes before she goes to bed, and she goes to bed. You've given me my night back. So I gave her a hug, and that was good, right? So again, whatever works for you, right? But I have had people write and say thank you for putting them up. Another story. I got invited to a graduation of one of my former students at Fresno State. She was graduating with her engineering degree, and I thought it was nice, so I went. And I walked in and I found her, right? Gave her a big hug, congratulations. And then I was swarmed by about 15 other people, okay? And I was like, what is going on, right? They just came out of the crowd with all their flat hats and funny robes, right? And I was like, I haven't done anything to you guys, don't beat me up. And 4 of them were like former students of mine that I didn't realize were graduating at the same time, so it's fun to see them. And for the rest of them, I'm like, sorry, I don't know you from Adam and Eve. Like, who are you? And they're like, Mr. Balogh, we know, you don't know us, but we know you. We survived our physics classes because of your recordings. They were all Fresno State students, right? Where their Fresno City College colleagues had said, hey, you know about this crazy guy that does, right? And they're like, you helped us. I was like, great. They're not monetized. There's no Mr. Balogh merch. Yeah, what is it with you guys? I keep getting complaints that there's no Balogh merch. You guys really need to spend your money somewhere else. Jeez. All right. Let's do a homework assignment real quick, okay? Okay, so what have we learned so far? There's a weird calendar, right? And that's the calendar I refer to. I forgot to mention, Canvas has the due dates for homework and the exams. That's it. Like, there's nothing else in Canvas that says, like, this day we're doing chapter 4 or whatever, right? Because Canvas, it doesn't do that very well. And then we learned that there's a YouTube and there's a PDFs, and that's about it. So with Wiley Plus, nobody says hang tight anymore. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go to the question. Let's go to this one. All right. You've all had online homework systems, right, that are basically problems with a box and you put stuff in the box, right? What happens if it's red? Doom and gloom, right? And if it's green, yay, right? Celebrations, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. Let's go over some things here. First of all, how many attempts do you have? You said 3 because you've been abused by chemistry. Okay. The mastering chemistry, mastering engineering, fill in the blank, mastering, fill in the blank. I was, I'm going to sound really old now. I was there when these systems were first developed. We're talking late 90s, okay, when Google was just barely a thing and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to do these online homework systems. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty convinced that the people who invented what would become the mastering system sat down in a room and said, what's the best way that we can make students fear and tremble and have the highest levels of anxiety they possibly can? And they came up with ideas like they only get 3 tries. And if you ask for a hint, let's deliver electric shocks. Oh, we can't deliver electric shocks, so let's just take points away. It's about the same for a student, right? So, like, the paradigm, why does online homework exist? Why should it exist? Why does homework exist? Okay, let's get back to the base thing. What's homework for? You. It's where you're learning, right? This is your time. Most of your learning is going to happen in the trenches of homework, okay? Why online? Like, what's the point? Easier for me to grade? Okay, let me let you in on a secret, okay? I hate grading, okay? And even if I didn't have an online homework system, if I was making you do on paper, I wouldn't collect it because I don't want to read it. I just don't, okay? If I had my way, and I mostly do, but I've been told this is bad, so I would just assign homework and not give any credit for it. Problem is, you don't give credit for something, what does a student do? You totally ignore it, right? Okay, but it's like the most important thing, okay? So, yeah, I can't do that, so I've got to give points for it. But even if I collected it on paper and I was going to grade it, I would say, oh, I'm going to collect everybody's homework and I'm going to spot check 4 of them. Every semester, you have like a 50% probability that your homework is going to get checked like once in the semester. Your entire homework grade for the semester rides on that spot check. That's what I would do. I don't like grading homework. I don't like seeing a ton of math mistakes all the time, right? Because homework isn't for me. Who is it for? It's you, right? You are responsible for knowing whether or not you got it right and how to do it and all that kind of stuff, right? So if we've eliminated the need for me to grade it, period, right? And it's not for just make it easy for me to grade, because if that's all it was, I wouldn't make you pay for it. What should it be doing for you? Helping you, right? Giving you assistance on the problems, okay? Well, is there any assistance here? Hint. Now, I know you've been abused, but if you click this button, nothing will happen to you. It will be okay. You're not going to lose any points, right? Now, I will be the first person to admit that the hints in Wiley Plus are pretty dumb. They are mildly insulting most of the time because they basically say, well, do physics. And you're like, duh, right? So click the hints. They're not going to hurt you, okay? Where systems should really excel is in their tutorial helps. And in Wiley Plus, there's something called a Go tutorial that is much better. This goes beyond hints because the Go tutorials usually break a problem down into their like parts. And if you came into GRASP for help and you said, I don't know how to do this, I can't get started, whatever, right? I would start asking you kind of leading questions, trying to help your brain learn the problem-solving process and to critically think and do all that kind of stuff. And that's what these Go tutorials do. Like 90% of them, like I was convinced that they had like hacked my computer and stolen my teaching style, right? Like they're just, the Go tutorials are really well written to lead you through, right? Step by step through the problem. So an online homework system should be helping you in the moment that you're trying to do your homework. A computer is never a replacement for a human being in terms of like a subject matter expert, like a tutor or me or something like that, but it is kind of the next best thing, and that it can link information, all that kind of stuff, right? It can link directly to the textbook. In fact, I know for a fact that most of you will never click a textbook link unless you do it through that button first. How do I know this? I've installed spyware on all of your computers and devices? Yes. Yes. It's called telemetry, right, that we get from how students interact with Canvas and Wiley Plus and all this kind of stuff. We know who clicks on what and like what, right, what time you do it, all that kind of stuff, right? This is just basic information that I use to know that most of you do your homework at about 11:30 at night on the day before it's due, right? So like, I can see patterns. I don't ever drill down to an individual, right? Unless there's like a troubleshooting problem, we got to fix something, right? But like in general, I get all this data and statistics when I want to look at it. I don't look at it all the time. So this is again for you, right? Take advantage of the helps that are all here. I've structured the homework so that like you get a problem that has a Go tutorial on it. This doesn't always happen, but you get a problem with a Go tutorial and then you'll get another problem that doesn't have one, right? You've kind of learned the process for this problem. Now, if I let go of the bicycle seat, can you balance, right? Then that next problem is for you to find out. And it's okay to need help. It's not a problem to need help. What's not okay is to turn over the learning process to somebody else or to something else. And what do I mean by that? Let's talk about ChatGPT, Claude, AI, Copilot, all of them, right? Is it cheating to use AIs in my class? Absolutely not. No, it is not, okay? Why? It's a tool. It's a tool like any other. Okay? It can be used for bad things. It can be used for good things. Nobody's using Grok in here. If I see you using Grok in here, I'm coming after you. Okay? But as far as the others, they have a pretty good track record in the last year or so with being able to do physics. It really starts to fail electricity and magnetism, and oh my gosh, like relativity is a dumpster fire. But like kinematics, like most of the topics in 2A, they're nailing them. Even Gemini is okay now. Didn't used to be, right? I study this stuff in the background. This is like my interest. Like where do these technologies intersect with learning and all that kind of stuff? So taking this problem, cutting it and pasting it into ChatGPT and looking at what ChatGPT is not a crime. And I want you to feel comfortable in coming to me and saying, Mr. Balogh, I put this into AI and I don't understand why it did what it did. Like I don't get it. Because I would much rather be helping you analyze, right, what the AI is trying to do. Because if you and I are thinking about what the AI has done, what are we doing? We're learning, right? We're doing something, right? Before the age of AI, one of the things that I would do, me and my buddies in physics, is when we couldn't find a tutor and the teacher didn't have an office hour, we would go bother them anyway. And oftentimes the teacher would say, well, I don't have time, I gotta go to this meeting, whatever, right? And we would say, okay, can we borrow the instructor's solutions manual? There was no internet to download the PDF and they kept them locked in their safes or whatever, right? And nice teachers, decent teachers in my book would say, sure, here you go. They trust us, right, with that information. We take the Instructor Solutions Manual, we go down to the library, we'd pop it open, because we're stumped on this problem, we've tried it, and we would see how the Instructor Solutions Manual did it, and that helped us figure out sort of the process and the way of thinking. But what was the critical piece that we had to follow up after that with? Trying again without the training wheels of the Instructor Solutions Manual. I have no problem with you using ChatGPT to help you on your homework. Okay? I think it's a second-class way of just getting help from a tutor or me or one of the other members of your class, because it's going to get it wrong. It's going to do some other weird stuff. But if you're doing that, make sure that you aren't content with just getting the green box. Because what am I going to be asking you on the exam? You're going to have to show me that you know what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you get the number right. It has to be supported by evidence. I've got to be able to see somehow into your brain about what you've learned, and that evidence has to be on the page, right? So just getting green boxes in the homework is not going to help. You have to know why the box turned green. AIs are not consistent in the symbols that they use, like for velocity or position or time or any of that kind of stuff. They're also pretty inconsistent in like the method that they use to solve the problem. Because again, they're statistical robots in that they just try to make sure that words that happen near each other happen most often, right? They're not thinking through these things. And so it's, in my experience with my students who come to me saying, Mr. Balogh, I tried ChatGPT, blah, 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 blah. We often spend more time troubleshooting what the AI did than if we just went to the book, right? And so I've had some students try it, and they're like, this takes more time, right? And they go back to the old way of doing things, right? I've had other students say, no, this helps me a lot. What I've noticed, though, is that my homework scores are going up on a per semester basis, like the average homework score, like 100% across the board, in record times, right? Students are spending less time on homework, right? And that test scores are going down, right? As a matter of fact, I'm kind of getting almost a bipolar distribution now, where it used to be sort of a kind of a standard Gaussian curve. I'm getting a lot of people like in a passing, like ABC range, and usually I'd get like a little tiny tail of D's and F's, and now I'm getting like a group here, hardly any D's, and a lot of F's, right? And so there's kind of only one conclusion I can draw from that, right? People that are trusting the AI to do their homework for them are just getting trashed on the exams when I ask them to show me, because they've got a really good skill of cutting and pasting into a box, right? Okay, but they don't necessarily have a skill when it comes to physics. Again, it's your responsibility, and whatever tools you find that you want to work for you, great. No, it's all paper. Matter of fact, there's only one multiple guess problem per exam. And that one's just to communicate to you that it's conceptual in nature, that you don't necessarily have to use math to do it. But yeah, it's, students, you guys don't like it. But in physics and broadly speaking, like it's our way of like kind of doing, well, this is a bad example, essays, because ChatGPT is really good at essays now. But like, yeah, it's a flawed way of figuring out what's in your head. But I have another way to get around that, which is called an exam autopsy that we'll talk about later. Go ahead.
If we wanted to do a chapter of our homework that you haven't lectured on yet, are your previous course YouTube videos on there so we can do that?
Good question. The question is, are the previous last semester's 2A videos up? No, they're down. The reason being is that every class is just a little bit different, and sometimes the pacing's a little bit off. And I really want you guys, if you're sitting there in lecture and you've zoned out for 10 minutes and like all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, where am I? And you realize the last 10 minutes has gone by and you haven't been listening, you can just write down the time, and you'll be able to go to the YouTube, right, at that time. If it's been 35 minutes into class, you can get to 35 minutes in the YouTube, and you might be 5 or 10 minutes off because I do like cut out all the quizzes from the recordings. But like, so people can index, like, and again, it's for the people who are there, right? That we did something together, they can go back and review it. So that's why they're all pulled down. My 4A and 4B and 4C videos are up, but I'm not teaching those classes. So. Yeah?
Are the exams in like these formats or are they different?
They're very similar. There's no boxes. You guys draw a box around your correct answer. But they're just a question like this. And we'll get, as we get to the exam, we get closer to the exam, we'll talk more about this. But like, I don't do multiple part questions on my exams. There's 7 questions. Each question is a single part. And they're not dependent on each other. In other words, just because you can't do number 1 doesn't mean number 2, like number 2 doesn't reference question number 1 or anything like that. They are separate problems. You get 7 questions in 70 minutes. So you have an average of 10 minutes per problem. That's your goal, right? Be able to do a single part of a homework problem in 10 minutes. And at first, you're going to be freaked out because homework's taken too long or whatever, right? Get the muscle memory, right? Okay, get the practice in. It's all about practice. It really is. And when you run out of homework problems, go to the end of the chapter, pick more. Okay, I pull all of my homework problems come from the end of the chapter. So just go to the end of the chapter in the textbook, boom, there's 100 problems there and I've assigned 10, right? So there's definitely more practice in there. Some hints. I don't want you to feel like you have to buy like access to Copilot or Claude or anything like that, right? Both Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT all require you to pay like $20 a month if you want pseudo unlimited access. If you've ever tried these things, you might notice that like after 4 questions or something, it'll say you have to wait 2 to 4 hours before you can ask the next question. That's like their free tier, right? The exception to that is Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft's implementation of ChatGPT. So it looks different on the front end, but on the back end, it's ChatGPT, the current version of ChatGPT. And it doesn't limit you to like number of responses. And so I actually use the free version of Copilot if I've got something that's going to require a little bit more, like need to write an email to my dean, but I need to tell ChatGPT a bunch of things about it, right? I'll do Copilot because I know I can just put in a bunch of, here's several emails to my dean, pattern it after this one, I don't care what it says, off to my dean, right? My dean and I have structured it so that her AI responds to my AI, and they go back and forth. And then she and I can just go out to lunch and figure out all the problems. And I do use AI in this course, right? I use AI to clean up my exam problems that I write. Because sometimes I use big words that people don't understand, right? And so I'll ask ChatGPT or one of the Copilot to like rephrase the question with simpler terminology or something like that, right? So I use AI too, right? I think it's a good tool as long as you're not doing it to do illegal or immoral things, right? And you're not shortcutting your learning, right? If it's helping you, great. If you find yourself just using it as a shortcut to get a homework grade, you're going to get destroyed. So please let me help you and we'll find a way to make it work for you. ChatGPT and Copilot seem to be the best at math right now. Gemini's getting better. I'm actually kind of a little bit excited about Gemini. Gemini used to be a dumpster fire. Claude is interesting in that like it seems to be the best at coding. So like Python and coding language, that kind of stuff, Claude really excels. So they all have sort of their different things. And I do study this and I consider myself a pseudo expert in terms of how these AIs help education. So please ask me. Please don't be afraid. Right? I'm never going to accuse you of cheating for using an AI. Unless you do it on the exam, in which case I'm coming after you. Right? So, questions, comments, or concerns about any of that? We went sort of tangential there, but I think the AI discussion is a really, really good one and an important one. Because it's not going away. You guys are living through the time that we lived through when Google happened. Just ask any of your parents or grandparents or something like, when Google happened, what were people afraid of? Have they told you anything? They were afraid that people would stop learning, that it'd be too easy to get information, that they would lose the skill of like opening an encyclopedia to search for something. None of that happened, right? As far as I'm concerned, these arguments go all the way back to we're all sitting around the fire in our Neolithic caves and somebody picked up a piece of charcoal and started drawing on the wall. Imagine all the old people going, "What are you doing? You're going to lose your memory if you put it on the wall." And all the young people are like, "Yeah, but I don't have to remember it anymore," right? So it's the same. Technologies can, when things change, yeah, it's scary because you got deep fakes happening and non-consensual sexual imagery and all kinds of terrible stuff happening out there. But at the same time, there can be some really powerful things happening. So it's up to us to show the world how to use it responsibly. All right, I think that was it for Canvas. Let me double check really quickly. It's been an hour that I've been talking. So we did the calendar, we did the links, yeah. Oh, I make something that nobody ever looks at. It can be a little bit difficult sometimes to like get to the textbook if you just want to look up a piece of information, like literally get to the textbook's website. So in the modules, I put these things called textbook resources. If you just click a link, it'll take you directly to the textbook, right? It's just, I'm saving you about 5 clicks here by just going here and getting a textbook. The other thing I did is that the textbook comes with these pre-lecture videos. These are made by the author of the textbook. And students often come to Mr. Balogh, "We don't learn by reading anymore. You're old-fashioned. What do I do?" Well, there's pre-lecture videos, right? Okay. And again, you don't have to do the work of going on YouTube and figuring out which creator has the best videos that match this class, right? They're dull, but they're already done. And they contain vetted, correct information, right? So you can trust this one, right? So yeah, the thing with YouTube and creators is that creators are incentivized to do what? The whole purpose of making a YouTube video is to do what? Get money, right? And so they will do things to make it either interesting or engaging so that you'll stick with it, but not necessarily make the information correct, right? So there are good resources. Khan Academy and Crash Course are both 2 that I can recommend right off the bat. Crash Course, unfortunately, is more geared toward high school, like physics and stuff, right? But like they took their time to get it right. Khan Academy tends to be a little bit too advanced. So you got that here. And then the study guides. There's a study guide that the book comes with, and the Student Solutions Manual link is right there. Right? I just put that in all the textbook resources for every chapter so that you have those links. All right. You getting the sense that you're in charge? Go ahead. Yes, question.
Would you say that study guide is pretty similar to what we'll see on the test, or would you recommend?
It's been about 2 years since I looked at it. So they're giving extra examples. They're doing it in the book's way. There's a lot more here than I would ask on an exam. Oh, there's extra practice problems. That's cool. And the neat thing about the practice problems is, look, they give the work solution, right? So this is another way to practice, isn't it? Right? You can get in there, look at it. I should look and see. I'm just doing it really quick. Yeah, I mean, like this problem right here, okay? This is just classic throwing something off a cliff. How long does it take to get there, right? There's several different ways to do that problem. This is one way. But yeah, I'd say this is probably similar. My goal, and my students tell me that I'm doing it, the homework is always much harder than the exam problems. Homework usually has like an easy, medium, and high level difficulty problem, and I skew the 10 that I pick to the medium to high difficulty. But what I'm trying to do on an exam is hit the medium difficulty, right? So if I can over prepare you, like if I can, if the homework is harder and then you come in for an exam because you're already anxious about the exam and you got to do a problem every 10 minutes and there's a bunch of other problems with exams, right? But if it's the problems on the exam are medium homework difficulty type problems, then I feel like I've succeeded. They're still tough. They're still hard. And you'll still freak out. It's okay. We'll breathe together. We'll get it done. Good questions. All right. Let's take a break. Let's take a break, and we will reconvene at 9:10, so 5 minutes from now. And those of you that need to add, come up here so that I can do that. All right, welcome back. So that was like kind of everything I should have done yesterday, but I really just didn't want to do all that yesterday, right? What we're going to do now is sort of shift into lab, kind of do a little bit of a lab syllabus type of thing. And then we're going to get into lab number 1, which is super duper exciting math. So, all right, index cards. Let's do yellow. So follow the instructions as they appear on the screen. I guess the trick for today is you have to decide which side is the blankest on these cards. Sometimes they give us lined index cards. So while you write your first and last name on one side of the card, feel free to put some decorations, little pictures or writing or squiggles or whatever, so that you can recognize it from a distance. That's a clue as to what these cards are for. Please don't put any symbols that would be offensive to anybody else, which nowadays means I guess you got to leave it blank. Although I'm sure somebody will get offended by blankness. But, and I'll make you change it if I think it's inappropriate. So let's see. While you're doing that, and you can kind of keep squiggling on these while I'm talking and all that kind of stuff. Give you something to do with your hands. What do you think these might be for? Any guesses? Again, don't be afraid to be wrong. Yeah.
Attendance.
Ooh, that's a good idea, but since I really don't take attendance after today, it's a moot point. I'll send an attendance sheet around every once in a while, but really, legally, all I have to do is make sure on the third Friday of the semester that everybody is enrolled who's enrolled and who's not is not. And after that, it's college. You guys can decide whether or not you're going to be here. I should say this, there is no part of your grade that is directly attached to whether or not your rear end is in the seat, right? I don't sit there and go, oh, you were here, 10 points off, right? Okay. But if you're not here, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be. I do quizzes, we do labs, like you have to be doing the things to get it done. But you are an adult, you can come or not, it's your choice. I do get worried about you. If I notice, if I kind of know your name and I try to memorize names next week, but if I notice like you disappear for like 3 classes in a row, I'll start chasing you down. Some people fall through the cracks, but I like reach out and like, are you okay? What's going on? Like, are you dropping? Blah, blah, blah. Can I help? I do worry about you. So if you know that you're not going to be here for a couple classes, just shoot me a little email. You don't even have to tell me why. It's your privacy, right? But like, just say, Mr. Balogh, I can't make it. I'm still here, right? Okay. It just kind of helps me keep track of you. Because I do worry about you and care about you, especially in the context of this class. So it's not for attendance. Any other guesses? You can never be afraid to be wrong. Be afraid to not want to guess.
Are you going to put them like on a certain chair and you're going to make a sit where our name tag is?
You keep calling them name tags.
Name card.
Name cards.
Flash card.
Yeah, if they were name tags, it would say, hello, my name is, right? And it would be for somebody else. I'm assuming at this point you know your name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, right, it's not for you. Idea?
Is it like pulling a stick type of deal?
Oh, this is a delicious idea, isn't it? Right? I take all the cards and I put them in a box, right? And I'm in lecture and it's the best lecture ever and everybody completely understands what I've said. And I say, now it's time for a question. And I'll shake the box right? And I'll pull somebody's name out and that person has to come up to the board and do the problem in front of everybody. That would be like the worst way to get you guys to want to be here, right? Right? Okay? I think, this is really mean. I kind of like that. But no, I wouldn't do it. Although it's kind of close to that. What I do is I take all the cards and I do put them in a box. And at the end of the semester, I shake the box up and I start pulling cards out. The first 3 people get A's for the semester. The next 5 people get B's. Some of you suspect that that's exactly the way teachers do it at the end, right? No, I don't do that either. What was your name?
Ella.
Ella got it. These are for where you're going to sit in lab. Okay? At the beginning, before lab, I'll shuffle the cards. I'll do a Vegas shuffle, and I will deal them to the tables. The 6 outer tables are where the lab groups are. You can see that's where all the computers and connections and stuff are. When you come through that door, you're going to put your backpacks and everything else are going to go. We have cubbies. We're back in kindergarten, right? You're going to put your stuff up here so it's out of the way. We're not tripping over it. And to your table, you will bring a lab packet that will be provided for you in advance, a calculator, and something to write with. You will then proceed to find yourself. The very first thing we'll do in physics lab every day is we will find ourselves. It's the beginning of wisdom, right? So you'll just look and see where your card is. And that's the table that you will be sitting at and the people who you will be working with for the next 2 hours and 50 minutes. So, what's the bad news?
It's not like constant groups.
It's not? Okay, well, that might be a good news for some people, right? Okay. The bad news is that you've got to work with those people for 2 hours and 50 minutes, right? What's the good news? You only have to work for them for 2 hours and 50 minutes. Because the next week, I shuffle them again, and you'll end up at a different table with a different set of people, and that happens for every lab where we're doing equipment labs. It's the fastest, fairest way I've seen to run lab groups in my career. It avoids the problems like getting stuck in a group that you're the only person doing the work or whatever, right? It gets you mixed up in meeting the most number of people so that you can rely on each other, so that hopefully your study groups can grow, that kind of stuff, right? So there's some rules here. Okay, number 1, you are not allowed to move your card to a different table. Wherever it is, that's where it is. Okay. Number 2, there is no voting anybody off the island. This is not Survivor Lab Edition. Okay, we're in this together, right? So you can't kick anybody out. Number 3, you can't broker trades with other tables. Hey, we'll give you 2 of ours for 1 of yours. No, okay? Not going to happen, right? It is what it is. If you have a legitimate concern about working with somebody in this room, you need to let me know ahead of time, okay? So that we can avoid situations. But other than that, this is how it works. If you are going to get in a fight with each other, please do it outside the door, right? Otherwise, in here, we're adults, we show respect, tolerance. Even if we don't agree, it's okay to not agree. You guys need to know that, right? It's okay to not agree with somebody. It's another thing to demean them or to treat them badly because we disagree. So that's what these cards are for. And you'll get into the flow of like looking for your card and finding yourself, and try not to hide cards from people. Okay. Sometimes there's a little bit of hijinks that happen. All right. Lab philosophy. You know what? I know it's kind of hot in here, but I'm going to close the door anyway. Because, the chemists get mad when they hear stuff. There shouldn't be any chemists down here, but you never know when they're sneaking around. What happens in like chemistry or biology lab? Like, what's the general flow?
Cold air.
Cold air. It's kind of warm. The air conditioning's not working in this room for some reason. I got to put in a maintenance request. Is it hot in here or is it just me? A little bit warm? A little warm? Okay. So how long does it take you to get data? If your lab's 3 hours long, like how long does it take you to get data? About 4 hours, right? Right? Because in chemistry, the equipment's trying to burn you or blind you. In biology, it's just trying to get inside you and kill you, right? Like There's a lot of things that go wrong, and you got to learn the skills and work the equipment and do all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's say in the last 10 minutes this miracle happens where you actually get a piece of data, right? And lab is over. Now what do you get to do? You get to go home. You get to massage that data, hopefully extract some meaning from it, and then write up some kind of lab report. Is this sounding familiar? Okay. You already know I don't like grading things, right? So do you think I want to read 30 lab reports? No. No. Let me explain something to you. I've done these labs, right? I know what's supposed to happen. I don't need to read your opinion about it, okay? Right? And I certainly don't know to need an introduction or a bibliography or any of that kind of stuff, right? What's lab for? Like, what's the purpose of lab?
So that we can make physical connections to the material.
Physical connections to the material. Use the word physical. So lecture isn't physical. It's verbal. You're not wrong, right? A lot of what we do in lecture is seeing and talking and almost passive, isn't it? But lab gives us a chance to be active with the stuff. If we're doing it right, we can apply what we're doing, right, in lecture to an actual situation. The other cool thing is there's only 30 of you in here right now instead of the 60 that we have in lecture, right? So there's a little bit more one-on-one-ish, right, kinds of things. They're always teaching us that we need to have active learning strategies in our classes, and we physicists just sit in the back of the room and go, well, we've been doing labs since the 1600s. Right? That's active learning, right? Being involved doing it. So ideally, lab is for you to learn, just like lecture is for you to learn, right? But it's just we use a different mechanism to do that learning, okay? And so my philosophy, and the philosophy that is shared by all the physics teachers in this department, is it's not about the lab report. And we would do you a disservice in teaching you how physicists do lab reports, because none of you are going to be physicists. If you are, you're in the wrong class and we have to talk, right? So it seems pointless to take you through an exercise you don't want to do and that we don't want to grade. The other side of this coin is that the equipment that we use in physics to poke sticks at the universe constantly changes in every lab. You will see a piece of equipment and then never see it again. As a matter of fact, the only constant pieces of equipment you're going to see are a ruler, a stapler, and your calculator, right? Maybe a photo gate. But like everything else changes depending on what we are talking about. Projectile motion's got launchers. Angular momentum's got spinny bits. Like it's different every single time. And you are not going to ever see one of those pieces of equipment again. How many of you are going to see a Science Workshop 850 interface ever again outside of this class? Never. So it is a profound waste of time for us to expect you to learn how to use it and then test you on it. So I will never test you on how to use a piece of equipment in this class. What I'll do is I'll instruct you enough at the beginning of every lab to be a little bit proficient, maybe even a little bit dangerous, so that you can get data and then use that data to form a model so that you can predict what's going to happen next. That's the through line of physics. And whether it's in the context of data model prediction or it's in the context of problem model solution, it's all the same problem solving process. So you guys don't want to write lab reports. I don't want to grade them. And I'm not going to make you show me how to use a computer or a photo gate or any of that kind of stuff. So hopefully what's left in between there somewhere is a golden opportunity for you to be learning, to be figuring out things in a different way so that when now you got to do your homework, it connects back to lab or something like that. Doesn't always happen that way, but that's the idea we're going for. And so, to make all of that, because what's left now? like, why is lab going to take 3 hours? Let me explain why lab's going to take 2 hours and 50 minutes. You're going to come in, you're going to find your spot. And then, anywhere from 5 minutes to 40 minutes, I'm actually going to instruct you on the particulars of the lab. Again, totally different depending on the equipment that we have and the safety considerations that we have. Once I'm done orienting you and giving you some hints and things to do, you're going to start doing the lab. You will have a lab packet that explains step by step what you're supposed to be doing, all that kind of stuff, the data you're supposed to be collecting, the analysis you're supposed to be doing, the questions you are answering, right? It's all going to be in a piece of paper, a packet of paper. And so you'll start that process. And you're gonna work at it as a group together. You're just gonna be rolling through it, trying to get stuff done. And at some point, you'll be looking at each other going, well, we've answered all the questions and we've done all the things and our percent errors seem to be reasonable and all that kind of stuff. What now? What happens at that point is you call me over and I'm going to do something socially unacceptable. Yeah. I'm going to grab one person's paper at the table. I'm going to grade it in front of everybody. I know, it's scary, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to say, oh, well, the units are missing here. And I'm going to throw it down. I'm going to walk away. Okay. Guess what everybody else missed on their labs? A unit or something, right? Okay. I always find something. Okay. Because you guys are new at it. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. So you're going to fix it. Everybody's going to fix it. And then you're going to eventually, you get my attention again. I'll come back over and I'll grab somebody else's, right? And I'll look at it and I'll maybe find something else. Maybe a question wasn't answered, or maybe you didn't explain what human error was. Something, right? And I'll say what it is and I'll put it down and I'll walk away. That process will continue until I grab everybody's paper at that table and go, this looks great, 10 out of 10. The scientific method isn't what you were taught. What was the scientific method that you've heard about? Did you guys get taught the list one? Something about like observe or hypothesize, and then go out and do an experiment, and then based on the outcomes of the experiment, you sort of go back to the beginning and redo your hypothesis, whatever, right? Okay, that is not the scientific method, okay? That's a stupid list. The scientific method, if anything, is a circle, okay? And you can actually intersect the circle beginning at the end if you want to. Most concise statement about what the scientific method is repeated failures until you discover the truth. You try and you try and you try again until it starts working. And if it starts working, you've got something, right? And in that process of trying over and over again and failing over and over again, you whittle down, you get rid of the bad stuff, and you find the element of truth that is the connections between what you are studying. That's it. In science, you just have to embrace failure. And so I say it over and over again, fail as fast as you can, right? Whatever you can do to make mistakes, do not assume that you're going to get it perfect the first time, because you're setting yourself up for anxiety and failure, right? So start with, yeah, I'm going to mess this up, and dive in. One of my favorite things to say is strong and wrong, right? Just dive in, go for it, see what happens. Use your brain. It didn't work. Got a red box. Why? I forgot. Red boxes. Back up. Canvas. Red boxes. What's the assumption whenever you get a red box? You're wrong. How does that make you feel? Sad. What state is your brain in now? Shut down? Because somehow you've been convinced that, or you've allowed a computer to set your emotional state. This is one of the greatest crimes of our modern society. I don't know why, but I get approved by the credit card reader every time I go through. And I don't need its approval. I just don't. Okay? Do not let Wiley Plus determine your emotional state. When you see that red box, let me give you a trick. When you see that red box, your first assumption, your response to that red box should be, oh, you think I'm wrong? I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to prove it. That may not be true. Okay? And so what I'm saying sounds a little bit like, well, no, it sounds a lot of bit like arrogance, right? That arrogance of, well, I'm right, you're wrong, screw you, right? Computer has no feelings to hurt. Don't do this with human beings, even though I do this with human beings all the time, okay? But with computers, especially with your homework, if you see that red box, it shouldn't be, oh, I'm wrong, I'm dead, I should change my major to philosophy, right? Instead, it should be, oh, wrong, huh? Well, let me prove it to you. Your brain is now in what state? If your assumption is that the computer is wrong, what state is your brain now in? Competitive almost, but more problem solving, right? It's not the passive, oh, I'm wrong, I'm dead, I'm so stupid, right? Because you're not. And 10% of the time, it is the computer's fault. They're programmed by monkeys, and the monkeys make mistakes too, right? So do not assume it's right, assume it's wrong. You might have to eat humble pie, but at least you are in a brain state where you are problem solving instead of being a victim. So tell it it's wrong. Oftentimes I'm screaming at my computer, you're so wrong. 5 minutes later, I'm apologizing to my computer. So, all right. So then we will repeat that process of me checking it until one of two things happens. Either the entire group has a 10 out of 10 and you're done, and I'll get you to clean up and organize things back to the way they were when you first came in, and then you can go. Or we run out of time, right? One of those two things is going to happen. And we'll deal with running out of time later. But in getting all of this done, there is pressure to get things done. And you might be the kind of person that just needs some quiet time with the lab to dot your I's, cross your T's, get something written down, whatever, work through the math. Maybe noisy environments just are not conducive to your thinking because there's a lot of noise going on, okay, with things happening. Hopefully, you're able to deal with that to the point where you can at least interact with your group and keep up and all that kind of stuff. Because you will be able to take once I grade it, you can take it with you and you can still work on it and we'll work something out. But if you're having trouble with the pressure, the noise, the whatever, you come up to me, Mr. Balogh, I think I can do this. I know I can do this. I just need just a little extra time and I don't want to slow my group down waiting for me. Just let me know, right? And we'll work something out, okay? But by and large, people that ask me to do that, after the third or fourth lab, they just realize, oh no, I can just kind of get this done and it'll be okay. If you're the kind of person that when you turn in something, it has to be like pretty and perfect and all that kind of stuff for a teacher, you are in trouble. Because these things are going to look nasty. They're going to look like a chicken died on it or something, okay? There's going to be parts crossed out and you're going to be writing in the margins and I'm going to have to rotate the paper to read what you're doing. And like, it's going to be bad, but that's okay. I don't care about how it looks, right? I want to see evidence that you did what you were asked to do and that learning took place, okay? So it's a bit of a different paradigm than I think the one you are used to if you've taken chemistry or biology. No, I won't talk to the biology or chemistry professors about this because I already have, and they have some really good reasons for the way they do the things that they do. Like in chemistry, there's a certain set of glassware and certain, you do titrations all the time. And like, there's skills to learn in there that are important. Here, we don't have that. So we get off the hook. By and large, students respond very positively to all of this. So if you're not certain about what I'm saying and it sounds scary, well, guess what? Next week's lab is actually our run through of this process. Next week's lab, we're going to be measuring little g, the acceleration due to gravity. Spoiler alert, we already know what it is and we don't need you to measure it for us. Okay? It's just an excuse for us to learn how to start using the computers and how the interfaces work and to be safe, and so that I can give you enough autonomy to be able to be doing stuff without having me help you all the time, right? So we kind of prototype this whole process next week in the lab that we'll be doing. You guys need to ask questions if you have them, because I just tend to keep going. And I always hate that question. Are there any questions? Because of course not. There's never any question. Nobody's ever going to answer that question. I don't keep attendance, but I do have a tardy policy for lab. And this is just to encourage you to be here on time or be ahead of time, because it's very unfair if somebody comes in 20 minutes late to a group and now the whole group kind of has to pause to catch that person up, right? So the carrot on a stick, like this is just incentive to be here on time for lab. I won't embarrass you. I don't do this in lecture. Like I don't, oh, you're late. As you said, I'm not going to do that to you, right? That's just rude. Okay. But for lab, and especially if like in the first 10 minutes, I'm usually doing like safety, like how to be safe in this room right now with this equipment. If you miss that, now I've got to get you back up to speed and other kinds of things. So do try to be here on time for lab. If there's an issue with transportation, childcare, whatever, and you know it's always going to be a thing where you're always going to be 5 minutes late, please let me know and we'll work something out. And then the asking questions before and after lab. So before lab, I'm setting up, I have 10 minutes between this lab and the next one to reset everything, go to the restroom, eat my lunch, and save the world. Generally in that order. So yeah, if you come up to me in that 10 minutes and like, hey, Mr. Balogh, can I get a homework problem? I'll be like, no, right? I just don't have time. If your group's finished and there's 30 minutes left of lab, please ask me homework questions, right? That's totally appropriate because you're here, right? I'll prioritize getting people's things checked off, right? But if I'm not doing that, we can be into the homework, right? I have no problem with that. It's just that in before and after that it gets to be, my time gets very tight. I cannot tell you general lab safety in here because I said the equipment changes every time, right? But there are, like, we need to talk about evacuating this room. If we are asked to evacuate the building, we've been asked to exit out these doors, turn left and go to the main stairwell, go out the main entrance of the building towards Wendy's, right? That's sort of our congregation area. In my analysis and my training in emergency situations and things like that, my guess is if we're going to have a legitimate emergency in this building, it's like not a false alarm or something, it's probably going to be chemistry's fault. Okay? They have fire up there, they have chemicals, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay? I pick on chemists all the time. I love chemists. Chemists are amazing people. Chemistry, but chemists are amazing. So, and they know it. You can tell them that I pick on them all the time, right? Because they can pick on me. We have a lot of fun around here. But there's probably going to be a fire or something going on, likely started up there, okay? And so I'm going to guess that there's going to be students on fire, hair on fire, whatever, coming down that main stairwell, and it's going to be a mess, okay? So if we need an alternate way out of the building, we'll go out these doors and we'll turn right. There's a big door at the end of this building, and it'll push us out. It will be right next to the child care center, and we'll just go and kick them all off the swings while we wait to come back in. So that's the alternative, right? Primaries, we'll go out and we'll go to the main entrance because they're going to want to count people and do all kinds of stuff, right? Okay. Secondary is if that way is blocked off for any reason, we'll go out to the right and down that exit of the building. If the evacuation is like orderly, and there's no like panic, people aren't running and screaming and all that kind of stuff, and it's obvious that we don't have to get out. We have to get out, but we don't have to get out like in a big hurry. Do grab your bags, right? Grab your phone, grab your bags, take your personal stuff with you, because I can't guarantee it will be safe, right? And I can't guarantee when they're going to let us to come back in. Leave the lab equipment. Leave your lab packet. Grab your calculator, go to your bag, grab your stuff, right? Carry it with you. If it's an emergency and we have to get out fast, I will let you know and I will tell you leave, go, right? That's different than perhaps a false alarm or a nice orderly exit, okay? The third kind of evacuation, and we do have an alternative way out, which is through this door. Normally you're not allowed to go back there. If you go back there, there's like wizards and balrogs and you shall not pass and big axes. It's bad back there. Don't go back there, okay? But if we have to get out and this way is closed off, we can go into our back storage area, and we've got a huge garage door back there. It takes about 5 years for it to open, but it will eventually open, and we will be able to exit out that way. The third kind of evacuation that we have, back up. There's evacuate and congregate, which means they want us to get out of the building, but they want us to stick close because they're probably going to let us back in soon. There's evacuate and leave, and they'll give us a specific instruction that says we need you out of the building and don't come back till notified, we'll send an email out or something like that. Happens very rarely. And if it's evacuate and leave, don't go to your car. Literally, don't go to your car. Everybody else is going to your car, you're going to get trapped on campus. They need us off campus for a reason, and there are probably going to be people, police officers, fire, telling us which way to go, because they just need us off campus in a certain direction. Okay? So just grab your bag and go in that direction. You're coming back for your car later. The third kind of evacuation is shelter in place, active shooter, something's going on, right? And so if that's the case, we lock the doors and they can see in, right? Each of these rooms has a kit. This is for our optics labs. It's a big curtain, and the curtain attaches to the doors with magnets, okay? So we can actually throw this up, probably take less than 15, 20 seconds to get this up high enough so that people outside can't see inside, right? So we'll throw these up, turn the lights off, silence our phones, we'll be quiet. If we need to get more of the building between us and the outside world, we can get the entire floor in that storeroom, okay? And get more protection. So these are the things that we plan for, drill for, right? It's an unfortunate reality of modern campus life. But if you have any questions about your physical safety, please let me know so that I can orient you to the right resources. Other than that, like every lab is going to have a safety orientation specific to the equipment that we are using. In general, try to wear closed-toe shoes. I'm not going to kick you out if you wear sandals, okay? But I might tell you to go stand in the corner while something's happening so that stuff doesn't fall on your feet, okay? And then you can come back. Long hair, beards, loose clothing. We have equipment that spins, and spinny things love loose things that are attached to you. So if you have loose clothing, you have long hair, whatever, you're probably used to carrying a hair tie or something with you. If you come in and I ask you to tie your hair back, please don't be offended. It is not a fashion thing, right? I'm just trying to make sure that you don't end up part of the experiment in a way that you didn't intend, right? So that's just sort of very generalized things that happen for all of our labs. All right. Time for lab numero uno. I'm going to need probably at least that many. 5 of you? Okay, so this thing that I'm giving you is not lab number 1. It has lab number 1 on the front, okay, but it is actually the lab packet for this entire unit. So this packet contains lab number 1 and lab number 3 and lab number 4. They're stapled together just to make it easier for me to hand out to you. Okay? But you will need to separate lab number 1 from the other labs. Ideally, separate lab number 1 and lab number 3 and lab number 4 from each other and staple them up separately. Right? Did we miss one? See, I can't count. You're very welcome. So just note that. I don't want you to hand me today, I don't want you to hand me lab number 1 and hand me the whole packet. Right? Okay. So right now you can just tear off, what is it, the first like 5 pages or something? 6 pages. 6 pages? Yeah, 6 pages. This is what the front of lab number 3 looks like. Okay. So just, you take off lab number 1. We have staplers somewhere there's a stapler up here, but I can get staplers at the desks. We're going to be doing lab number 1. Okay, what is lab number 1? Lab number 1 is a math preview. I know it says review at the top, but really it's a math preview. It's designed for you to find out if you are mathematically ready for this course. What I've done is I've taken some physics problems that you are going to encounter this semester. I've stripped all of the physics out, and it's just the math part. Okay, so you're going to go through this and you're going to find out if you are ready for the math in this course. Because I'm not a math teacher and I don't spend time teaching math. So let's step through these one at a time so you know the expectation. Problem number 1 is trigonometry. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about trigonometry tomorrow, because in physics we do it slightly different. But your standard trig, SOHCAHTOA, whatever, is going to help you through this problem. Okay? Problem number 2. This is a little bit weird. This is actually a geometry problem, but please do not try to remember your high school geometry or whatever, right? No theorem proof kinds of don't need a compass stuff, okay? It's can you work your way around triangles? Can you explain, right, how you know what you know in this problem? Oh my gosh. See, I'm an idiot. How many of you do not have a triangle on the front? That's why I ran out of 2B packets. I could not figure out. Keep your hands up. Come up here. Come up here if you have a 2B packet. Put it right there and grab one of these. Sorry about that. Yeah, whatever state you happen to have it in, just put it in a pile. I'll put it in the recycle bin. I apologize. I wondered where all those went. I'm like, I know I printed enough. Okay, we all happy now? Well, no, okay, strike that. Nobody's happy that they have to do math. But do we all have the right one now? Okay, thank you. All right, first one's trig. Second one's geometry. You can write down in words how you figured that one out. Or you can use a little bit of math. 3A is a quadratic equation. You are welcome to use quadratic solvers in my class, even on the exam if your calculator can do it. But if you don't have that capability in a calculator, now's a good time to practice the quadratic equation. 3B is a little bit of a nasty algebra problem for you to figure out. 3C is a logarithm. Yes, we're going to use logarithms at some point in this class. And then problem number 4, which is on page 6. Problem number 4 is unfair. It's pretty nasty, but it's actually par for the course when we get to Unit 2. Question number 4 is 4 equations with 4 unknowns. Now, I don't know about your math history. I don't think I was ever asked to solve 4 equations with 4 unknowns in any algebra class I took. That didn't happen until I got to physics. So it's 4 equations, 4 unknowns, algebra, solve for T and A, and you should get a number. Is this the one with the numbers on it? Does this have numbers on it? Yes. Okay. You should get a numerical answer out. We make the 4 series do it all symbolically. So that's what you're up against. Okay. It's 9:50, which means you have an hour to do these. Not quite, well, more than 4 problems, right? So what I need you to do is help each other out. You're going to need help remembering how to do some of this stuff, right? So talk about it with each other. There really shouldn't be quiet in here. It should be a lot of noise as you talk about how you're going to do it and the method and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to answer any math questions for about a half hour, right? I want you looking up stuff on the internet, on your books, and your math notes, whatever. I'll clarify questions if you need the question clarified, but I'll hold off doing any math help for a little bit.